CBS News Convention Headquarters in Kansas City. This is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Charles Collingwood in our newsroom in New York.
Good evening. Republican convention delegates here in Kansas City have squared off for their first bare-knuckle fight of the Ford-Reagan struggle for the presidential nomination. It will come tonight over a proposed rule change called 16C, a Reagan attempt to force President Ford to name a running mate by tomorrow morning. Reagan forces call it the right-to-know rule, but the Ford camp calls it the misery loves company rule. That's an allusion to Reagan's early choice of Senator Schweiker as his running mate and the damage some think that did to Reagan's candidacy. CBS News and several other news organizations now count enough delegates for President Ford to win. In our survey, he has 1,138, 8 more than needed, but it includes 17 delegates who say they are leaning, not firm. Reagan has 1,039, 91 short of nomination, and that includes 3 leaners. 82 still are undetermined. Other floor fights also are pending tonight over platform planks on foreign policy and abortion, but the first one, 16C, is the big one. And the Reagan forces are going all out to win that, to give their candidate the lift he desperately needs to overcome that lag in delegates. The president's people are trying just as hard to stop that. Bob Schieffer reports.
In his 18th floor hotel command post, the president put the final touches on the strategy at an early morning meeting with Michigan Senator Robert Griffin and Rogers Morton, 2 of his most trusted advisors. Then Mr. Ford went to a downstairs suite to explain it to his floor whips. Basically, they'll tell the Reagan people that the president is making no promises who his running mate will be. But as Griffin explained it, if Mr. Ford is forced to name his running mate Wednesday, it will wipe out any chance of Reagan being on the ticket.
I don't think that we should put him in a position where at 9 o'clock Thursday morning, he couldn't change his mind in the interests of the party and the nation. Furthermore, I think that if President Ford is nominated, and I'm confident he will be, he would want to at least consult with Governor Reagan the next morning before he made a final decision.
So what your strategy is going to be to say to the Reagan people, if we have to name the running mate in advance, there would be no chance that Ronald Reagan could wind up on that ticket.
Well, obviously, it would, if the president asked to make an announcement on Wednesday morning, and Governor Reagan has said flatly he wouldn't accept it, would be very awkward and difficult for him to make that kind of a decision that would involve Governor Reagan.
The president's Michigan coordinator, Richard Fletcher, confirmed the president sees this vote as a key test, and he said the topic dominated the strategy session.
The emphasis this morning is just as they've been in the last 3 days, 16C over and over again. If we win on 16C, we think it represents an excellent opportunity to be our knockout punch.
The president was out campaigning among the various state delegations again today, but the Ford people are now clearly worried about whether they can actually deliver that knockout punch, and here's why. CBS News has learned that the Ford organization has secretly polled the delegates. That poll shows that if they can hold the votes they have now, they can win on this issue, but only by a margin of 10 votes. Bob Schieffer, CBS News at Ford headquarters.
Correcting my report a moment ago, in our CBS News survey, Ford now has 1,140 delegates, 10 more than needed. That includes 17 leaning. Reagan has 1,040, 90 short of nomination. The rules vote is not a pure test of the candidate's strength for nomination. For example, Mississippi, both Ford and Reagan have supporters there, but the delegation decided today to cast its 30 votes as a block against the proposal. Some Reagan supporters oppose it because they don't want to close the door on Reagan getting the second spot, which the rule would do. Reagan firmly repeated his view on that proposition again today. Terry Drinkwater reports.
Reagan's pace today was frantic. In all, he met with 14 delegations. A few were already his, like Louisiana, where the loudest cheers came when he said he would never be Mr. Ford's running mate. Other of his receptions at other delegations, like Illinois, were polite, but no delegates' minds were changed. The last full day of campaigning for Ronald Reagan was in one way like the very first in New Hampshire. The motorcade rides were as long from one small meeting to another to delegations housed in towns around Kansas City. Reagan was as upbeat and as cheerful as any candidate trying to look like a winner should be. However, among some in his staff, the worry and the wear were showing badly. At the key Mississippi delegation, Reagan was on second. Mr. Ford's men, Treasury Secretary William Simon and Texas Senator John Tower, tried to capitalize on Mississippi's dissatisfaction with Richard Schweiker, Reagan's chosen in advance vice president. Reagan's moment came somewhat later in the day, and his reception today was much warmer than when he and Schweiker appeared together in Jackson 2 weeks ago. A Reagan spokesman said tonight, "We have Mississippi for sure. At least I think we do." While Reagan was all over town, his manager strategist, John Sears, was looking towards this evening's session with his rule change 16C coming up. If passed, Mr. Ford would be forced to name his vice presidential choice by tomorrow morning.
I think that tonight could well be one of the most exciting nights in political history. There's no doubt that if after going through all of this, that in some way the vote tonight demonstrated a weaker position than that is perceived for us publicly, then that would be harmful.
Reagan also plugged away on 16C.
I have preached unity in the party from one end of the country to the other. I think now I did something practical about that message of unity. But also, I happen to believe that if a man can tell you Thursday morning who his nominee is going to be, he can tell you Wednesday morning before you've nominated him.
How apparently small Reagan's gains have been so far today was clear when he was able to announce just 2 new delegates from New York, and one of them was already counted by CBS News for Reagan. To win the nomination, Reagan has a long, long way to go in the next 24 hours. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, with the Reagan campaign.
It doesn't cramp my style.
Doesn't cramp my style.
What doesn't cramp my style? Phillips, milk of magnesia. When I have constipation, I rely on Phillips. It really works, and it doesn't interfere with my day.
Phillips formula works a special way that draws your natural body water to where it's needed to soften gently and work effectively. Relieves constipation in hours, usually without cramps. Phillips, regular, chocolate, or mint.
It really works, and it doesn't cramp your style.
To stand up to Joey Chitwood's precision stunt driving, it's a tough tire. Right now, you can save on the Sears steel-belted silent guard. A long-lasting tire with 2 flexible steel belts under the tread. Get this kind of traction and steel-belted toughness on your car now and save 33%. The Sears steel-belted silent guard. Only at Sears.
No sooner had the Republicans opened their convention here than there were charges and countercharges of money offers by both sides for delegates to change their votes. Most of the attention focused on one woman member of the Illinois delegation. Bill Curtis reports.
Marie Goodloe said that she was offered money to change her Ford vote to Reagan, that it came during a ride in a car with an alternate delegate from Illinois, a Reagan man. She described it for CBS News correspondent Mike Wallace.
He said, "We want you to get the president, vote on the president for his running mate." At the meantime, I says to him, "Why don't you ask the president?" He said, "I cannot do that because I work for Reagan with the delegates." He said, "But if you will help us," he called 2 more things he called, but I wasn't too much interested in it. He said, I will give you $2,500.
According to Marie Goodloe, that man was Donald Hutton, Reagan's Illinois state campaign chairman. He admitted that he did ride with her, but he viewed the conversation differently.
We talked in the car, and I asked Mrs. Goodloe if she was committed to President Ford, and her response to me was that God would direct her in her decision, and I just couldn't fight with that one.
Did she talk about money?
She'd indicated to me that her circumstances, financial circumstances, were not good, and that was that.
The bribe issue erupted again this morning while Ronald Reagan addressed the Illinois caucus. Marie Goodloe stood up and said, "Someone offered me money to change my vote." Reagan answered,
"But I know that no one in my organization had anything to do with this."
The bribe talk died away,
And Ronald Reagan left with the Illinois delegates singing his praises, but not with their votes.
I'm Teddy Inman, state chairwoman, now committed to Ford.
But at least 3 of the 5 uncommitted delegates were considered by many to be Ford votes anyway. And the sudden show of Ford support may have been planned to sweep the uncommitteds into a Ford bandwagon so Illinois could put him over the top on the first ballot. Bill Curtis for CBS News, Kansas City.
President Ford met this evening with the black delegates to this convention in an effort to win their votes tomorrow night. While the 76 blacks comprise only 3% of the delegates this year, compared to 4% in 72, there actually are 20 more blacks here than were at Miami Beach. Randy Daniels reports on the black delegates and the role they're trying to play in the Republican Party.
In theory, black Republicans have never had it so good. There are more black delegates to this convention than to any Republican convention in history. They are young and old, rich and poor, and they had hoped to be a major factor in determining the political fate of Ronald Reagan and President Ford. Blacks in the party talked of forming a potent uncommitted delegate bloc to win concessions on jobs, education, and busing from both candidates. But internal struggles among black delegates prevented what some blacks had suggested, maintaining a united front for maximum political leverage.
Well, I think that's very amateurish. I don't think anybody that's been in politics would, listen to anything like that. You can't go around auction off your vote in that manner as if to say to somebody, this is kind of a bribe, what are you going to give us, and then what are you going to give us?
The failure of black Republican delegates to get it together has been attributed to too much influence of non-delegates in caucuses and the intense wooing of delegates by Reagan backer Dr. Henry Lucas and White House Special Assistant John Calhoun. Today, Walter Robinson, spokesman for the Black Silent Majority Committee, issued a scathing indictment of black delegate performance.
They have been irresponsible. And not only that, I think that they have not, a lot of them have lost credibility within the party because of this irresponsibility. I hate to say this, but it's the truth, whether they are my black brother or not.
By law, 32 black delegates are committed to President Ford and 10 to Reagan. A majority of the remaining black GOP delegates expressed a preference for the president. Reagan is regarded as an unthinkable option. With so many minds already made up, they have considerably reduced their bargaining power. As one black delegate said, we waited too long, and we have blown it. Randy Daniels, CBS News, Kansas City.
Every day, your dog or cat goes out into a jungle filled with wild fleas and savage ticks. They need the protection of the one and only Hearts 2-in-1 collar, the incredible collar that kills both fleas and ticks. The white 2-in-1 collar really works, turns that jungle of ticks and fleas into a nice, safe place for your pet. To kill both ticks and fleas, the right collar is the white collar, the 2-in-1 collar from Hearts.
Marion.
Hi.
I need a book on biology.
Biology?
Truth is, I want to learn about laxatives.
Why?
Well, sometimes...
Do you know about X-Lax pills?
Pills?
X-Lax pills. They're gentle, easy to take, and no taste. They contain a medically proven effective ingredient.
X-Lax pills. Medically proven effective ingredient? No taste? Gentle? You learn something new every day.
Lots of folks need help now and then.
Heavy rains tonight are hampering rescue work in the southern Philippines, struck yesterday by a massive earthquake that may have killed as many as 2,000 persons. It was centered on the island of Mindanao and was followed by 10 aftershocks and a 24-foot tidal wave. U.S. officials say there are no reports of injuries to any Americans, some of whom worked as missionaries on Mindanao. There are 16,000 U.S. servicemen also stationed in the Philippines. A second powerful earthquake yesterday struck western China, and today Chinese officials said its effect was minimized because Chinese seismologists had accurately predicted it. The government said today that housing starts dropped by 9.2% last month. That's the biggest decline in more than a year and a half, all but stalling the industry's recovery. The shortage of new homes has forced up the price of existing housing. In the last 6 years, the median price of an existing home has risen by 40% to $38,600. Mitchell Krause reports.
In some communities, there seems to be a real estate office on just about every corner. And for most of them, business is now booming. Although new home construction is down because of the recession, the sale of existing homes is up by more than 50%, setting an all-time record this June.
The supply and demand considerations are there's just not enough new housing to meet this pent-up demand that has been building during the recessionary period now that people are out there actively seeking housing.
With little or no new housing to choose from, the increased demand has caused a sharp increase in price for existing homes. In affluent communities like Ridgefield, Connecticut, where new industry has brought hundreds of families to the area, prices have skyrocketed.
It could be that 5 years ago you'd come into town here and buy a house for $70,000. Turn around today, that house would be on the market for maybe $105,000, $110,000. It seems to be becoming meaningless. You know, what is a dollar anymore these days? And we're talking now $90,000, $100,000. Oh, a year and a half ago in Ridgefield, there were very few homes on the market over $100,000. Today, I would say perhaps 25% of our inventory is now over $100,000.
For example, this house sold for $55,000 in 1969. It's now on the market for $115,000. And this house went for $65,000 7 years ago. It was sold last month for $132,000. And realtors say there seems to be no limit to how much higher prices may go. Mitchell Krause, CBS News, Ridgefield, Connecticut.
Averages were up on the New York Stock Exchange today. Volume was 18.5 million shares. The average price per share climbed 11 cents on the New York Exchange. It dropped 1 cent on the American. Soviet diver Sergei Nemtsov, who defected during the Montreal Olympics, today changed his mind and arranged to go home.
So, you're the new Jeep CJ. Call yourself CJ7, huh? Hey, CJ5, check out this rookie on the obstacle course. Why do they send me these soft recruits with options like a hard top and roll-up windows, no less? Hey, the kid's doing good. Keeping right up, and even with the automatic transmission option. Atta-way, CJ7. There's even extra room for my golf clubs. Jeep CJ7, you got possibilities.
Nature Valley granola is not just a cereal, it's more. I use the recipes on the box for cookies, breads. Great, too, as a snack. No preservatives, crunchy, wholesome treat, and taste no other natural cereals have. Cinnamon and raisins, honey and oats, fruit and nut, and now, coconut and honey. Flavor of goodness.
From Nature and Nature Valley.
It's more than a cereal.
Pennsylvania health authorities reported today the Legionnaire disease now has killed 26 persons. And they said a third person who attended the later Eucharistic conference in Philadelphia has the disease. The chemical Kepone, a roach and ant killer which poisoned workers at a Hopewell, Virginia plant and polluted the nearby James River, has been found in fish in several other East Coast locations. Hal Walker reports.
The life science plant in Hopewell, Virginia has been closed for more than a year since authorities discovered that the Kepone it manufactured was making its employees sick. The employees have sued for $100 million, and the parent company is under federal indictment for polluting the James River. Now traces of the virulent pesticide are showing up hundreds of miles from the point of manufacture in fish taken from these waters of the southern Chesapeake Bay and from the Atlantic Ocean along the coast of New York and New Jersey. Bluefish are being hardest hit by the chemical and are being kept off the market. But traces of Kepone are also showing up in individual flounder, croakers, and sea trout, but not in large enough quantities to make them unsuitable for sale. Russell Train, head of the Environmental Protection Agency, said today the problem is worsening.
Present indications are that it does migrate. There are indications that it is moving up the bay, at least somewhat at the present time. If you assume that this trend continues, then you've got a problem for the entire Chesapeake Bay.
Train said the amount of ketone being discovered in fish samples was not enough to make a person sick who ate an average amount of fish. He did not define what an average amount of fish is, and he said he would not recommend closing the Chesapeake Bay to commercial fishing, a move that could prove disastrous to the economy of this area. Hal Walker, CBS News, Washington.
Take a look at someone who takes Geritol.
I've got a job, a husband, children, and grandchildren. That makes for a pretty full life, so I have to take care of my health. That's why I make sure I get enough rest and exercise and take Geritol.
Geritol, to be sure you get enough iron, more than twice the iron of any ordinary supplement, and some very important vitamins. Take a look at who takes Geritol.
Geritol every day.
Shouldn't you?
Hi, you know me, Mr. Cholesterol. Nice of you to have me for dinner. Serving any of my favorites, bacon and eggs, cream sauce, butter. Hey, that's Fleischmann's margarine. The only leading margarine made from 100% corn oil. It's got no cholesterol, zero, and it's high on polyunsaturates. It even tastes good.
Fleischmann's margarine, great for low cholesterol modified fat diets. 100% corn oil,
0% cholesterol.
The Republicans are scheduled to nail together tonight the planks of their platform, a compilation of ideological ideals on which the candidates will run. Bill Plant compares this platform with the one the Democrats built just 5 weeks ago.
The Republican and Democratic platform committees produced sharply contrasting documents, particularly in domestic policy areas. As in the past, Republicans are calling for less government, Democrats for more government initiatives. Unemployment. Republicans want to open up new jobs in private industry by ending deficit spending and curbing inflation. They are flatly opposed to federally funded public employment. The Democrats advocate public employment and public works projects and pledge specifically to support legislation to reduce adult employment to 3% within 4 years. Taxes. To encourage investment and stimulate the economy, the Republicans are calling for tax incentive credits to individuals and corporations. Democrats emphasize tax reform, closing loopholes, which they claim would save $5 billion the first year. Health. The Republican platform supports government insurance protection for catastrophic illness through private carriers, opposes comprehensive national health insurance. Democrats favor national health insurance and propose to finance it through payroll taxes and from general revenues. Welfare. The Republican platform calls for welfare reform without federalizing the welfare system. Democrats promise to begin that process by removing welfare obligations from the cities and beginning to reduce the share borne by the states. Busing. Republicans oppose school busing for racial balance and favor a constitutional amendment if necessary. The Democrats, while not totally opposed to busing, call it a judicial tool of last resort. Equal Rights Amendment. Both parties endorse ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. Defense. The Republicans call for a superior national defense and specifically endorse the B-1 bomber, an increase in the size of the Army, and new naval shipbuilding. The Democrats, while pledging an adequate defense, want to cut spending by $5 to $7 billion and to postpone a decision on the B-1 until February. Panama. The Republican platform underlines for emphasis a sentence which warns that U.S. negotiators must give up no rights or jurisdiction necessary for protection of U.S. interests. Democrats support a new treaty with Panama which would ensure the interests of the United States. Abortion. Republicans support a constitutional amendment to restore protection of the right to life to unborn children. Democrats say it is undesirable to amend the Constitution to overturn the Supreme Court decision. When the platform comes to the convention floor tonight, moderates will try to remove all reference to the sensitive abortion issue. Conservatives will try to add language implicitly critical of the president's foreign policy. Other amendments may be offered from the floor, but the morality and foreign policy issue is the one on which Reagan forces have chosen to make their stand. If it is adopted, it won't dramatically alter the platform, but it could well provide a test of Ronald Reagan's strength. Bill Plant, CBS News, Kansas City.
The so-called morality plank hails exiled Soviet author Solzhenitsyn, who was snubbed by the White House, as a great beacon of human courage and morality. And it criticizes détente, the Helsinki Agreement with the Russians on human rights, and secret compacts. Indirectly, it also criticizes the man who guided those international moves, Secretary of State Kissinger, who is conspicuously absent from this convention. Marvin Kalb reports from Washington.
At the last Republican convention, Kissinger held an unassailable position. He was a political asset and a social lion. Delegates swarmed around him. His autograph became an instant collector's item. A kind of national folk hero, he represented success and drama in foreign policy, and he starred in a White House film praising Richard Nixon.
Big word, but there's a certain heroic quality about how he conducts his business, because he does it all in a very understated way. Of course, I can only judge foreign policy, and I believe that his impact on foreign policy will be historic, no matter what happens.
This convention time, it's all different. Kissinger is here at the State Department, maintaining a profile so low he's rarely visible. And because of the expected foreign policy scrap at the convention tonight, the president's advisors want the controversial Secretary of State to say nothing. So Challenger Reagan is not given the opportunity of picking up the support of some critical delegates who might be disgruntled with Mr. Kissinger's policy of détente with Russia. As Kissinger travels around the world, he still quietly promotes that policy because he considers it to be the only basis for global stability. He is trying to ignore the noise from Kansas City while working on the problems of East-West relations, Southern Africa, and the Middle East. And he is trying to be philosophical about the change in his status and power from the last Republican convention to this one. If the president wins his party's nomination tomorrow, Kissinger will fly out to Kansas City on Thursday in a chartered airliner, along with about 40 foreign diplomats. By the way, the secretary is expected to pay his own fare both ways. Marvin Kalb, CBS News, outside the Secretary of State's office.
CBS News coverage of the Republican National Convention will begin at 7:30 this evening, 6:30 Central Time. And that's the way it is, Tuesday, August 17th, 1976. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News Convention Headquarters in Kansas City. Good night.
If the burning, cracking, and itching of athlete's foot is back again, no matter what you've used, you need new Aftate. It's the killer. Aftate kills all major types of athlete's foot fungus and helps prevent reinfection. Aftate contains the medication proven more effective in killing athlete's foot fungus than the medication in the best-selling brand. New Aftate is better, much better. It's the killer.
Eyes tired and bloodshot in the morning? Trust Murine 2 to clear and refresh them. Eyes bothered by windblown dirt or irritation from wearing contact lenses? Trust Murine 2 to soothe them. And when your eyes turn bloodshot from cold or allergy, trust Murine 2 to clear them up fast. Even after swimming in chlorinated pools. Murine 2, a name you can trust next to your eyes.
From CBS News Convention Headquarters in Kansas City, this has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Charles Collingwood in our newsroom in New York. For the latest news early, watch the CBS Morning News with Hughes Rudd and Bruce Morton. CBS Sports covers the action when many of golf's greatest players gather this weekend for the Greater Hartford Open. See the exciting final rounds Saturday and Sunday on CBS.
Stay tuned for Eyewitness News next on Channel 5.